When I first sat down to read Effortless, I had no idea it was about burnout or that I was so close to burning out myself. That same drive that compels us to achieve more can deplete us of the very energy we need to keep going and even our sense of purpose. But is it possible to be both more productive and more energized? Well, Greg McKeown will tell you it's essential. Effortless is the follow-up to Greg McKeown's New York Times bestseller, Essentialism, which has helped over 1 million people to focus on the things that matter most. After a decade of daydreaming about YouTube, Essentialism gave me the framework and the permission to go and make space for it in my life. But even when we strip back everything to the bare essentials, we can find ourselves doing too much. In the preface to Effortless, we find Greg exhilarated by the success of Essentialism, but equally exhausted. It's a feeling that many of us can relate to, especially after a year like the one we just had. It turns out it's not enough to just cut out the clutter. We have to unburden ourselves from the overzealous targets and the all too complicated steps we take to get there, which only end up hurting us more than they help. That's because past a certain point, productivity sabotages our performance. And Effortless isn't a book about productivity. It's a book about relieving yourself of the practices and mindsets that lead to burnout. An effortless state that leads to effortless results. Of course, in all of that, we have to take effortless action. That's where I was concerned that this book would cover too much of the same ground as Atomic Habits by James Clear, but there was no need to worry about that. All of the great lessons from Atomic Habits, from the compounding of small choices to the chain reactivity of habit stacking, are present right here too. But Greg McKeown wants us to think on a more macro level, to appreciate the power of rituals and routines, and to eliminate the steps that create friction. In fact, a better comparison to this book might be the war of art, which helps us to overcome resistance to achieve what we want in life. However, instead of just focusing on our creative lives, Effortless draws from broader experiences to help us find a smoother way forward. What unifies all of these books is in fact a very simple truth. To accomplish anything, we only have to start with the first step. Greg McKeown's relatable and snackable writing makes it easy for you to do just that. His style is as effortless as his ideas. And his enthusiasm for the subject matter really shines through in his anecdotes from both lived and found experience. One of my favourite stories in the book is that of Dick Fosbury, an Olympic high jumper who flew in the face of perceived wisdom and decided to turn his back to the pole. We all know now that completely reinvented the sport. The ability to tell these stories in a page and a half while teaching you how to apply the lessons to your own life is a really incredible skill. But beyond the human stories, there are practical methods, illustrations, and summaries, all geared up to help you lead a more effortless life. Of course, just reading this book isn't enough to prevent you from burnout, but a change in mindset is often the most important step to better mental health and well-being. If Effortless can help you find more space for rest and recuperation, as well as the right level of exertion in your daily life, then it could be the most important book that you read all year. Having purchased the book, you also get access to the Essentialism Academy. Check out my review of that if it sounds like something for you. And let me know in the comments what you thought of this book and if you've got any tips on how to reduce friction in our lives. See you in a bit.